What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show, bringing you all the action from the Premier League and Serie, England and Italy. I am your host, Matt, joined by my freshly shaven, no more stubble. The groundhog has seen his shadow. The 6 weeks have passed. So Dom is no longer in the darkness of winter. He's letting those cheeks feel the sunshine, and he's drinking a massive amount of beer. How are you, Dom?
I'm good, man. I'm good. As you can see I think I'm good. Yeah. No, I'm ready to talk a little bit of Serie. And you don't have it in the show notes, but I am going to rub a little something in your face today.
Okay. Well,
yeah, rub a little something in your face.
I don't love hearing that right off the bat. So let's just get right into it, shall we? Because it was a wild weekend in both Premier League and Serie A on opposite ends of the table. You know, we've talked so much about the relegation battle in England and how intense that's going to be. And it feels like every week we have a shift and a change. We talked very much the same in Italy. We're outside of Napoli, you know, the top teams, everyone in for European places. Feels like every week we're getting some new action, or a team sort of drops a spot or two just because of how tight it is there. So a very similar trend this past weekend. We started in England with just a general overview. Bournemouth beat Liverpool 1-0 in just a bizarre performance. Pretty much sums up Liverpool's season so far in terms of consistency. I thought the first 15, 20 minutes, it looked very good. And then Bournemouth just gradually gained a little foothold in the game. And they're a very direct team. You know, this is a way that they've, you know, when they've enjoyed some success this season, it has been off the back of hitting it long and using guys out wide to find pathways. And that's how they won this game. You also had Everton winning 1-0 over Brentford. Really, really crucial win for Everton. It's their third 1-0 win since Sean Dyche has taken over. So you can definitely say he's had a really positive impact on Everton so far. Moves them out of the relegation zone, crucially. Leeds got a draw against Brighton. West Ham got a draw against Villa, you know, which were decent results, you know, in a vacuum. But when you look at just the scope of the weekend, you know, it did mean that, you know, we had some teams like West Ham, you know, level on points now with Bournemouth at the bottom there into the relegation zone. And Leeds are firmly in the relegation zone. But again, you know, just the margins are very thin. You know, 12th to 20th in the Premier League is separated by only 5 points. So each week it feels like you can come away from a weekend with a team, you know, drastically altering its chances at staying or getting relegated for the Premier League.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. You got 3 teams tied on 24 points. Any team can drop down there, you know. So it's gonna get real interesting come the end of the season. Real interesting.
Yeah, I think for me too, you know, it's very hard to say which of these is going to go down. You know, in Italy, I feel strongly about, you know, maybe some of these teams that are going to go into Europe. It's maybe harder to predict the 2 teams that might drop out of that position. Let's just go through it, because Crystal Palace is in 12th. I feel generally good about them, but they're not getting great results, and they're not scoring a bunch. And I think you could say they're maybe underperforming the attacking talent they have there. Generally speaking, but they're pretty stable. You know, like they don't feel like they're in any sort of crisis or free fall, but they are close to the zone, right? They're only 3 points out from the relegation zone. Wolves, again, very similar problem that has gone on now for the last 2 seasons, really, in an inability to create and score goals. But again, a little bit more stability. You know, they have a good manager now too, in Lopetegui, who you trust would probably navigate them out of this situation. Those 2 feel on the safer side. Anyone from this point down, I really could 100% see go down. Nottingham Forest, inconsistency all year. You know, they've had these good results, but largely speaking, have I think flattered to deceive at times, and just have not been nearly consistent and nearly good enough. And you know, you do have, I think, a little bit of a bloated squad issue. You know, when you sign like 400 new players in a summer, maybe that's a challenge. Everton, you know, pre-Sean Dyche really looked awful. We're really lacking They have not looked amazing under Sean Dyche, but they're at least getting some decent results. I do worry, though, that a lot of these goals that they're scoring are coming. Dwight McNeil's goal over the weekend is just like a wonder goal. That's not necessarily replicable. I don't know that they're really still creating enough chances. This is a theme with pretty much all of these teams. Is an inability to create chances or at least take them. They don't really have a reliable goal scorer. But, like with Sean Dyche, like experienced manager, you feel a little comfortable. At least Leicester, they've been in total free fall. They've been one of the worst teams in the Premier League since coming back from the World Cup break. You just look lifeless. And they can score goals, sure, but defensively, they again, this season, not good at all. And are just constantly shipping goals to their opponents. West Ham, I have no clue what's going on with them. They have great talent. This is a team that, again, we've talked about last year. Were in good form. Could have gone to the Europa League final, and have enjoyed a few good seasons under David Moyes. Does not feel that way this year. They've just completely lost the ability, I think, to have some of that attacking talent. And I don't know. I really don't know where they've gone wrong. Bournemouth, I had concerns about coming into the season with their talent and their squad makeup. Those things still exist. They still have a very large hill to climb to get out of this. Leeds, talk about inconsistency. This is a team that just even down to the players, it feels like every week you're getting just a different type of performance. I don't think they've benefited a lot from some of the managerial changes here. Then Southampton have looked like the worst team in the league for most of the season. If you're talking again about talent and depth, they're really lacking in that department in just about every shape. It felt like they were gearing up for maybe a little bit of a rebuild with the summer, a lot of youth signings, same with the winter window as well. But that's your relegation picture. It is very hard to pick definitively 3 teams out of that. I think the only one I feel comfortable that is going down is Southampton. Yeah, anyone else is still up for survival.
Crystal Palace plays Brighton next. Last time they played early in February, they got a draw. So, maybe Crystal Palace can squeak out a point at least in that matchup. So maybe I feel confident saying like them and maybe Wolves are safe. Wolves, I have a bigger question mark about. Do you have any teams that you don't want to see in that group relegated?
Anyone I would feel bad for Crystal Palace if they went down. I feel like that's kind of a tough break. Personally, I don't really want to see. Not sure I want to see West Ham go down. I just, but the selfish part of me is like, well, a lot of nice players. I'm sure some relegation clauses. Sign me up for one Jared Bowen, please. Type of thing. There's no teams that I like. There's not many teams that I actively like care about outside of Liverpool and England, right? I really. But in general, I think Crystal Palace, I would feel genuinely kind of tough for if they went down this season.
I want Leeds to stay up, for multiple reasons. I mean, they did get rid of Jesse Marsh. However, they have 3 Americans on the team now. I'm a big fan of Brendan Aronson, Weston McKennie, SerieA product. I want to keep that agenda of, they leave SerieA and they start like killing it in the Prem. But this is the one exception it looks like. But they've also been unlucky a lot during the season. So, it would be nice to see them stay up. Of the other teams, I could care less. I would like West Ham. Milan's looking like this, like the what is it? The Dave Chappelle meme, the Rick James meme. They're going
at Pakata back.
Yeah, come back. We need.
Yeah, that's what he needs is another place where he can dramatically underperform. He just needs to go back to France. Like he's clearly not meant. He's clearly not meant for the top level. Sorry, it's just not good enough. I'm really curious to see how the relegation battle shakes up over the next few weeks, and I think that's the storyline for me in England. Besides the title race, was a little boring this weekend, generally speaking. City and Arsenal both won. Arsenal cruised to a victory. City took them, to the 77th minute to get a goal against Crystal Palace, who, like you mentioned, have been drawing a lot. Crystal Palace, their games have just been very boring at times. They're good at limiting opponents' chances. Very good at limiting their own chances as well. So it has not been, a firecracker to watch Crystal Palace all that much this year. We're going to kick over to Italy with the top 4 is lava game because everyone everyone 2 through 6 this weekend decided they were not going to pick up the full allotted points. You had Inter, Roma, Atalanta all lose. Inter, by the way, you know who scored against Inter to sink them, Dom? I'm sure you do.
No, I actually didn't know that they lost to Spezia. Oh no, I do know who did. It was Daniel Maldini.
The man who just, for whatever reason, can only score against Milan-based clubs. I don't know what it is. Milan and Inter are the only two teams he seems capable of scoring against. At least he's got a flair for the dramatic. I respect that. Very Italian of him, to have the drama behind the scenes. Very well written character there. Roma, a disappointing loss against Sassuolo. Frustrating in a lot of ways too, because I think that game was, despite the fact that they were down, they found a way to claw back into it, and then again just sort of mental errors and mistakes. Got a pretty stupid red card in there as well. That game was salvageable against Sassuolo, and they sort of self-sabotaged again. Atalanta, they ran into the meat grinder against Napoli. There's not a whole lot of shame in losing to Napoli this season. Most teams will at some point lose to Napoli. That's sort of the way Italian football has gone this season. Lazio and Milan both drawing. I think frustrating results for both of them because of the fact you could have made up some ground or put some distance between you. It was an opportune weekend for both these clubs to maybe take advantage of that, and they were unable to do so. So there you go. I mean, that's everyone just kind of not doing that. And then, of course, Juventus found a way to win and just are slowly
the skeleton
crawling,
kind of coming out of the ground.
Crawling. They're like, yeah. They are rubbing their hands.
9 points still separates them from fifth. So look, they still got a ways to climb, but I don't like seeing this. Like when you have a week like this where every team except Napoli just drops points and Juventus wins, and they win in pretty convincing fashion, right? They win 4-2. It's like who knows what's going to happen for the rest of the season.
They're only 4 points out of Atalanta's European spots, and I think any European placement would probably be good enough for Juventus this season. They're still in the Europa League, and I think that is still very clearly that's where the priority should be. If I'm Juventus,
if they bow out of the Europa League like the European bottlers they are, and then downgrade to the Conference League, I will not let them live it down.
The truly hilarious thing for them to happen is for them to make Europa League final and lose that. To add on to the Champions League final loss is to add on like a Europa League final loss. I think that would actually maybe be the funniest result out of all of this.
It's just really weird because like now the way that Napoli's season has been going, like they're going to win this. Like there is without a doubt Napoli is going to win this when they have a 6-game lead in wins. Like it's or not, 6, right? I'm doing the math correct.
They have 18-point advantage. That is 6 games. There you go, Dom.
It's honestly baffling though. Like that's the thing. Like that many games, but it's really a battle for who can get second through fourth, who can get into that Champions League spot. That will constitute a successful season. You have like the Scudetto Junior, basically, who can finish second in the league right now, and that's all it is.
We talked about it. It's very crucial in Italy for these teams to get that Champions League revenue. I think we've talked about it a lot. This in the scope of Milan, because obviously that's you support, but also they're a team that is strapped for cash. They are very self-reliant, and so making it to the latter stages of the Champions League, just making the group stages is important. But even then, progressing into the deeper stages of the tournament is a huge boost for clubs. Not even just in Italy, but it's a massive advantage to get. And that's why it's so crucial. I think that's why we like to focus on it so much. I think in that sense, it gets frustrating when you see these teams lose. Napoli won again on the weekend. I don't know if you saw Kvaratskhelia goal.
Stupid.
He is just an absolutely bad man. He's just
he's stupid.
I really wonder what's going to happen with them this offseason. I don't want to spoil the party for them or anything, right? But Osimhen is very close to leaving this past summer. I do wonder. He's made a few comments over the past few weeks too that make me think he's got his eyes, on the Premier League or maybe La Liga, one of the two big clubs there. because there is, of course, the potential for a Benzema replacement. That might be kind of the talk of the summer, right? Hide your top tier strikers, hide your
Jesus
Kylian Mbappe,
Christ.
your Mohamed Salah, your Victor Osimhen, because you're not going to hear the end of that one. But even someone like Kvaratskhelia has got a lot of attention. And I think the focus is now on how much can they keep this group together in the offseason. It seemed, but hey, they lost a lot of big pieces this past summer. It felt like, for me, that was a reason that maybe they wouldn't have as strong of a year, and I was very wrong about that, and so many other people were. So maybe it's foolish of me to even doubt that they could retool yet again.
I think that if I'm not mistaken, Kvaratskhelia agent came out and said, like, yeah, he's a Real Madrid like fan and stuff like this, but his whole like thing is on Napoli. Like he's focused with them, and he doesn't want to leave. He's happy in Naples right now, type deal. But
talk to us in June.
It feels like a PR stunt, basically. Like, because like that news came so soon after the comments made by Osimhen, and like it was a weird week, wasn't it? When all that news came out, because it was like Osimhen's comments came out. Then the Weghorst drama that we talked about, where he taps the "This is Anfield" sign, and then his comments come out. Just the parallels of how the fan bases reacted to was kind of crazy. It was funny, but granted, Osimhen wasn't talking about like one of their bitter rivals. So I think I understand the outrage for Weghorst's actions, and then Kvaratskhelia comments come out, and it's just like, this is people trying to force moves. It's kind of weird. I do, but I don't want this to be like a one-time thing for Napoli, though. I mean, that's the course of how SerieA goes. Like, you win, unless you're Juventus and kind of Inter, but like you win a Scudetto, and then you kind of fall off for a few years, and then it takes a while to get back to it. Obviously, winning titles back to back is no easy task, but like even like struggling to keep top four, like that, you win the Scudetto and then you struggle to get a Champions League spot.
Yeah, I think too. These last few years are the first that have been outside of the influence of Juventus' kind of stranglehold on Serie A, right? So we're not used to seeing teams necessarily have to defend the title outside of Juventus because they were so dominant for so long. Spalletti said this in the interview leading up to the Champions League quarterfinal tomorrow, or I'm sorry, the round of 16, hopefully to get in the Champions League quarterfinal. They have the 2-0 lead, obviously, over Frankfurt. He wants his team to become folklore, and the way to do that is not just to win a Scudetto. Already, I mean, if not, Napoli's going to win the title this year. That is already going to place them in a very high position for Neapolitans. But if you are even making the semifinals of the Champions League, I think for Napoli, that would be a huge accomplishment when you consider, it's not a competition that they've really had a lot of success in. I mean, again, I think if you're talking, we've talked about it all season now, pretty much. Napoli are a big threat for the Champions League. I don't know who would want to play against this team necessarily. I think they have a very, very good style for knockout football. I think they have the ability to really damage teams. I look at the field. I look at the teams remaining. There's no like big juggernaut. You've had like even last year, like when you had like Liverpool, Madrid, City, like as like your kind of big three that it felt like they were like, it felt like no one was. It was only them. Like it really felt like it was only them that was going to win in the end, right? Like they were just so clear above everyone. Or at least in Madrid's case, they had the black magic, which they still have in their back pocket always. I don't feel that way about any team in the Champions League this year. I don't feel that there's like
even
I
Bayern.
have to pick this. Bayern, Bayern has weaknesses. Like Bayern is not as imperious as they typically are. I don't know. I think they have wing issues. Like I don't think they're great on the wings. Yeah. Mane has not worked his way back in yet. I don't know that they have like a clearly defined goal scorer. Like they've obviously had Lewandowski in years past. They don't have that type of player. And I'm not sold on them like defensively either. Like I think he can kind of break through Bayern a little bit. But again, Champions League matchups going to depend a lot on the draw, which we'll know next week when we return. But yeah, I wouldn't say Bayern though is like, I do not view them the same way that I viewed like Liverpool, City, Madrid in the past few years. I do not view them in that light. They're certainly not that type. There have been way better Bayern teams, even in the last 3-4 years, than this one.
I think that when it comes to Napoli, people kind of underrate them because they don't like most of the players on the team are not like household names. So nobody knows how to really compare them to what they always watch, right? If you got people who are just Prem heads who watch the Prem and then they watch they watch the Napoli team play and they don't know who Zielinski is. They don't know who Rachmani is. They don't know who Lobotka is. Like all they know from social media is Osimhen, Kvaratskhelia. That's it. Maybe they know Lozano and like Politano, like if they're a FIFA player or something like that. But like a lot of people don't know these players. And I feel like that helps people underrate them and kind of count them out when compared to, the big three, like you mentioned, who are still in the tournament, like a Bayern, like an Inter Milan, like a Milan. Like obviously they can be compared to the other Italian teams because they're doing better than them in the league. So I think that people kind of are still counting them out just because of the club and who the players are in the starting lineup, not realizing that they're very comparable in the form that they're in currently. They're very comparable to some of the best in the world.
Do you want to hear a really awesome Stanislav Lobotka stat?
Go ahead.
He is the best completion percentage in all of SerieA for passing, 94.4%. He has done that on 1,621 attempts. Just to give you an idea, second place is Marlon on Monza with a 92.1% completion percent. A defender. A lot of times these are defenders because there's a lot of passing in the back. Completing 764 attempts, 704 completed. Suamaro, defender for Bologna, 92.1%, 720 attempts.
Where's the next highest midfielder?
The next highest midfielder, great question, Dom, is Samuele Ricci for Torino, 88.8%, 735 attempts.
So even then, like the midfielder is still 1,000 passes less than Lobotka.
He's over 2 times most completion rates. The only I think the most attempts is Kim Min-jae for Napoli, who is just a touch over 2,000 passing attempts. In fact, the top 3 passing attempts in Napoli, who just dominate the ball. It just gives you a good perspective. Kim Min-jae with 2,000 pass attempts, a 90.5% completion rate. Di Lorenzo, 1,929, 85.1 pass completion rate, and then Lobotka with 1,621 pass attempts, 94.4%.
It really shows like Napoli's style. Like they're not just this counter-attacking team. They like to build up from the back. They like to hold possession. They're not afraid to go back to their defense and their holding midfielders when they need to recycle the ball in their offensive third. They have 6 players possession.
In the top 10.
Yeah, they like to dominate the ball. It's crazy. They just pass and pass and pass and pass and tire teams out, and it gives space for Kvaratskhelia to do his stuff, for Osimhen to get on the ball in a one-on-one situation, kind of use his body to his advantage, or like get a cross in, and he can just have a one-on-one. He doesn't have to deal with another center back or somebody on him. So it's. Credit to Spalletti. That's all I have to say. Credit to him because he's got these guys playing some top quality football right now.
I agree. Yeah, Spalletti deserves a lot of credit. I think people were I think fairly or unfairly, I don't know, but we're questioning you. Like I think we even talked about it.
We did it.
Like came back from the World Cup break, but we didn't. In our defense, I don't think we question in the sense like we think he's going to fall off, but it's like, are we even thinking about that? Because it has been an issue in the past for him, with the second half of the season syndrome. No indication of that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them in the Champions League tomorrow. We have the Champions on right now as we're recording. Man City are 4-0 up on Leipzig. I walked away from the TV to start prepping for dinner because I'm doing both shows tonight. When Erling Haaland scored a brace within like a minute and a half, I was like, this is over. So yeah, 4-0. It's still 0-0. Porto and Inter. We could what would be hilarious is Inter getting through, and we get an Inter and Milan derby in the Champions League quarterfinals. I think that would be wonderful.
I would much rather get that revenge against Porto. I would love that after the debacles that were last year's.
I think those more Atletico
games.
Madrid. If
Atletico Madrid. So a little bit of extra news from Italy. Milan's Primavera beat Atletico's youth team in the UEFA Youth Champions League.
You got it.
There is that part. That was cool, but. No. There were some controversial calls. It wasn't as bad.
Prestigious UEFA Youth League. It's all eyes glued.
Hey, listen, they beat Chelsea's youth team. They beat Benfica's youth team. They beat Atletico Madrid's. Those are good programs.
This is propaganda. This is such propaganda.
Listen. Yes, Atletico Madrid were obviously the highlight controversial games, but there were some questionable things that could have changed the balance in the games against Porto. Definitely one of them. But I would love that. I don't want to play Inter because Milan just always shit the bed against Inter. So if we had a Milan derby in the Champions League quarterfinal, I don't feel too comfortable.
In the time that you explained all that, Dom, Man City scored another goal, Erling Haaland's 4th of the night. So there you go. There you go.
Stupid. He's stupid good.
Marco Rosa, who coaches RB Leipzig, was like, I'm getting a little sick of playing Manchester City because Leipzig had played them a bunch. Mönchengladbach, when he coached there, also played City in the round of 16. So I pour one out for Marco Rosa. He's had a tough go. He's had to face City more than any man should have to do. Dom, what you said? All right, so you led off of the show saying you had something rub in my face.
Remember when you kind of downplayed the importance of Gabriel Martinelli a few weeks ago?
Whoa!
Hey,
whoa!
In the last 5 matches, he scored 4 goals. I don't want to hear any slander.
And who was the catalyst? Who lit the fire?
Oh, shut up! Don't try to move the goalpost.
Who lit the fire? Me.
Don't try to move the goalpost now.
Hold on, we can pull up the tape, brother. All I said was they need him if they're going to win the title because they had a little bit of a shake. I said they need him to get back to the form that he was in pre-World Cup. I was not wrong. They needed it. He's back in it, and look at that. They're playing well. Whoa! I'm clear. I'm cleared of all charges. I beat the case. I beat the charge.
Okay. Kyle, Kyle, you got to go back into the game film.
I would love nothing more. You could bring up the tape. My tape is clean. It is clean. Me and the Lord, we got a good connection. We're fine. Yeah, shout out to Gabriel Martinelli. What's great about him is I benched him in Fantasy Premier League. That was awesome. That was just a great move by
you have Trossard?
I'm just such a junior. What?
You have Trossard?
No, God no. Why would I do that? Because that'd be a smart thing for me to have done, Don. I did not do that. Clearly. Yeah, that was great. That was great logging back in and realizing that. Don, we got a little trivia. Because we're at a fun part of the season. Here in America, of course, it's March Madness. And you got to get these like wonky stats, if you're trying to fill out your bracket. And it got me thinking about trivia. And it got me thinking about these weird things that just happen sometimes. Down this past weekend, Liverpool won their first penalty kick of the season. First penalty kick going all the way back to April in the Premier League of last year. And they missed it. Mohamed Salah, thank you very much for ruining my Saturday morning. I like that Liverpool ruined my day very early because it gave me a lot of time to get over it. It was very nice of them. What 2 other teams from the Premier League and the Serie have yet to earn a penalty? I will give you a hint. There's one from each. There's one Premier League team that has yet to earn a penalty this season in the Premier League year. And there's one team in the Serie A that has yet to earn a penalty this season.
All right, so I read the show.
I trust that you're not cheating because I
listen. So I read the show notes prior to the start of the show. I saw that you blacked out answers. I did not look them up. I stayed true. I wanted to.
I respect you.
I'm a man of honor. I would never do that to one of my oldest friends. So I'm looking at the Serie A table right now. And I'm really doing this off of, what's sad? I'm looking at the length of the black rectangle and trying to figure out how many letters fit
Well,
there.
you don't know if I abbreviated or not. There's the thing. You don't know.
I don't try. Yeah. I don't know
what.
That first one. That's a long ass abbreviation.
Maybe I'm playing a little mind games. You don't know.
I'm gonna say Lecce is the Italian team. Can you confirm or deny that Italian
Lecce
guess?
is incorrect, my friend.
Okay. Let me go with the Premier League one and then without a penalty.
No penalties. Megamind meme. No penalties. I will say this one surprised me. The Serie A one, I was like not as shocked. This one, I was pretty surprised that this team did not won a penalty. No, that is incorrect, my friend.
Are you giving me clues?
Sure, I'll give you a clue. It is a London team. That is
okay.
That is your Premier League hint.
So Chelsea, Crystal Palace, West Ham, one of those three.
I will say it's one of those three.
I'm getting warm.
You narrowed it down well.
You said it surprised you,
but
I feel like I want to say Chelsea, but I feel like they've gotten one. Crystal Palace.
You feel like Chelsea has gotten one?
I'm going with Chelsea.
Search deep within your mind, Tom.
I'm going with Chelsea.
It never happened. It's a lie. Chelsea's not won a penalty this year, shockingly.
That's crazy. Yeah, that is crazy.
I really, they have good attacking players. Obviously, they've had a down year. But still, you'd think most teams just get a penalty.
Chelsea doesn't get the penalty help. Now they're 10th.
See how it works. I see how it works.
Let's start a dialogue.
The Abramovich money goes out the window.
Serie A clue.
Serie A clue.
How about this? How about this? If you can
lovable owner.
A lovable owner.
A lovable owner.
Sampdoria.
No.
Fiorentina.
On a personal level.
Oh, on a personal Monza. I was gonna guess Monza first. I was like, nah, I feel like they have one because they got the Berlusconi money. So I said maybe Lecce, but okay. Wow, really?
Yeah.
Really?
All right, Dom. Trivia number 2. Casemiro. Hey, this blew my mind because I always knew that he got away with cards, especially the yellow cards and things like that. Casemiro did not register a red card in La Liga with Real Madrid, also not with Porto when he played there. He received his second red card of the season with Manchester United this past weekend. This one is hard. You're going to need help, I'm sure. But can you name the 3 other players who have also received 2 red cards this season? Another hint. All 3 of them are from Serie A.
So I saw that.
2 of them are from the same team.
Oh. Well, I was going to guess first Gianluca Mancini.
That is incorrect. Good guess. If you're going for just temperament, that is a good guess.
Yeah. Because I clicked Roma. I want to click I don't think Rabiot. That's not right.
Rabiot is incorrect.
Okay. How about this? Give me a former player from the team that has the 2 players on this list.
Ooh, a former player from this club that I gotta get someone that you would get. I'm gonna Google really quick, just to get an idea of who might
Serie
help.
A.
Do you want like a recent player or like are we talking?
It doesn't matter.
Let's see here. Leonardo Pizzola. Does that help you at all?
So Fiorentina?
No, this is a good guess. This is a Tuscan club though. Sebastian Giovinco also played here. Claudio Marchisio?
Juventus.
No.
So
Luciano Spalletti played for this club? I had no idea.
So we're
Luca
talking-
Toni?
So we're talking Torino?
The club is Empoli, my friend.
Oh, really?
Empoli.
See, I
Turns
didn't
out
know, I didn't know Marchisio played there either.
it was news to me.
Yeah. Okay, so Tonelli has to be one of them, correct?
Incorrect.
Really?
These were surprising names. Not guys I would really associate a lot with a ton of fouls and a ton of
Francesco Caputo?
no.
Wow. This would be hilarious if it was one of them, but I don't even think this guy sees the field for Empoli. It's just because of his last name, Innocenti.
It's not Innocenti, but that would be again if you're talking great Italian writing. That is it. We've got Akpa Akpro.
Okay, I was thinking him.
And Sebastiano Leperto with 2 red cards this season. Don, there's one more player with 2 red cards. I will give you a hint. I'll give you several hints, actually. He is a forward player.
Okay.
He is one that we have talked about, maybe not so much this season, but in seasons past. And I think that is apt to describe him this year, too, is that he's not having as good of a year maybe he's had in years past. He's known for being a guy to come off the bench in a pinch and give you a brace.
Edin Dzeko?
Edin Dzeko is a good guess. That is incorrect.
Come off the bench in a pinch.
He's known for being a super sub. That was one of his great skills in the last 3-4 years in Italy. This guy.
Is he still a super sub or does he start?
He's
For his current club. For his current club, does he get subbed on?
He is not a regular starter anymore. No.
Luis Murillo.
Luis Murillo, it is. Come on now. There you go.
There you go.
I mean, that's that was not an easy one. None of those were easy actually.
Really? Two red cards.
2 red cards. Who would have thought?
Wow.
Yeah. So Luis Murillo.
You know what surprises me about this entire trivia fact that we're talking about right now is that Christian Romero is not a player with 2 red cards in the Premier League.
I was shocked that he has 2 red cards this season. Only one in the red card in the Premier League, though.
Yeah, the other one's in the Champions League.
So he has that going for him.
Sick.
Dom, this one was one of my favorites. This Arsenal player is top 5 in aerial duel win percentage. His name is
Gabriel Jesus.
Top 5 in incorrect. I actually think you might do like 9 or 10 guesses before you get to this guy. Top 5 in aerial duel percentage, win percentage in the Premier League, I should say. It's not like in all of Europe. In the Premier League, this man, top 5 in aerial duel win percentage. It's not a cheesy stat either, where he's only had to contend for like 6 or 7. Like he's been in the action. And
Ben
this
White.
man is good guess, but you are incorrect.
Midfielder?
You know what? That is an interesting question because this man, kind of gets around. I think he might call himself a midfielder.
Zinchenko.
Zinchenko is correct.
You gave it away with that clue.
I mean, come on, you asked a great question. I had to give you a good hint for that good question. I mean, come on, what?
Because at first you're like, oh, you could think. I was thinking, okay, it's between the fullbacks. It's between Zinchenko and Tomiyasu. But then you're like, he could consider himself.
He would call himself probably a midfielder. I think he wants to
based off of the way that they play. Yeah,
he certainly is. I was really surprised by this. Just because typically you associate high aerial duel win rates with center backs, which I think and maybe a very good forward might do that. But yeah, I was surprised to see him. He's won 35, only lost 13. So it's not, again, this isn't a guy that's just getting by off of a kind of a low percentage. Like he's in the action and winning quite a bit. I think the person with the most aerial duels won this season. For a bonus point, Dom, who do you think has won the most aerial duels in the Premier League this year?
For a bonus point?
For a bonus point. For a bonus friend point. He plays for a London club. He's known for definitely his goal-scoring prowess. Not always in the Premier League.
So I was trying to cheat. I was on FootMob, and I went to the stats, and they don't have aerial duels 1 as one of the stats. So
That's why you got to get on that.
So you said he
grind.
plays for a London club.
Plays for a London club. He's known for being in the goals. Maybe not always in the Premier League known for being in the goals. Definitely known for maybe a yellow card or two, though. And I was also surprised he wasn't on the red card list. He puts in a tough challenge every now and again. He's a forward.
Wait, Diego Costa isn't back.
Diego Costa,
no. He doesn't play for a London club. Last time I checked, he was on Wolves, but
he is still on Wolves, and he has certainly not played enough this year to lead the league in one aerial duels.
Plays for a London club. I'm gonna say Gianluca Scamacca.
He's definitely not playing enough. Not a bad guess, right? Though. He's got that tall frame. That was something that he's good at. It's Alexander Mitrovic with 93.
Okay, yeah, I'm not actually surprised by that at all.
He has won 93. He has lost 92. He's been in the battles a lot. This season. There's only one player that has lost more aerial duels this season. That is Che Adams at Southampton, who has lost 94.
Nice.
But yeah, Alexander Mitrovic with a nice. Just flip a coin, and we'll see if he wins that aerial duel. Thank you for playing along, Don. You didn't do bad. I think you should feel proud of the performance you put in today. I think you put in a good shift.
Yeah, there we go. Put in a good 70 minutes. Took me out. Crowd has a standing ovation for me, so I'm coming off.
And in the time that we played that fun little game, Erling Haaland scored another goal. I am not joking.
Yo, you want to hear what's
not a bit?
So I am on FootMob, right? And I'm in the stats section, and most of these stats are by a City player, like the highest thing. Top scorer, Erling Haaland. Most assists, Kevin De Bruyne. Most goals plus assists, Erling Haaland. FootMob rating, highest one, Rodri. Goals per 90, Haaland. Expected goals, Haaland. Expected goals on target, Haaland. Expected goals per 90, Haaland. Big chances created, KDB. Accurate passes per 90, Rodri. Chances created.
I just got to say, you skipped over.
I skipped over Darwin Nunez. Yes, I did.
Over shots on target per 90, which I think is the most predictive stat of a great forward. I got to say, it's all about how many shots you're getting on target. What's the variance bounces his way? We'll see.
Excuse me. So Kevin De Bruyne is the best passer, but accurate long balls per 90 is Ruben Neves. So yeah. Expected goals and assists per 90, Erling Haaland.
Yeah, breaking news. This City team, it's actually they're maybe kind of good, I don't know if anyone's really caught on yet, but I think we do have a little bit of leverage here. I think we might be able to introduce people to this Manchester City team and how good they might be. It is the last weekend before international break, the last international break of the season, and then we're on a full sprint till late May. There's some decent matchups, not as much in the Premier League because there's some games being postponed because of different cup matches and things like that. So not a lot going on in England this weekend. In Serie A, however, boy, do we have some fixtures this weekend. You've got Inter versus Juventus, Derby d'Italia, as they would call it. And then, come on. Is this the best Roma derby that we've ever had? I in recent memory, I'm sure there are some old timers.
Considering the stakes,
there are better ones.
And that they're 2 points apart. Yeah, this is real serious.
Both of them very much want to be in the Champions League, very much need to be financially too, especially Roma, who have not been able to spend a lot in recent years, and Lazio, also not exactly known for being big spenders. So that is a huge thing. That's going to be a great game. I can't wait to watch it. The first one this year was pretty exciting. Although it didn't deliver a ton of goals, it was a good game. At the very bottom of the table as well, Sampdoria versus Hellas Verona. That is certainly one to keep your eyes on. Because Sampdoria is trying to crawl out of the basement. I don't see it happening, but Verona is really chasing, Spezia, Salernitana, Lecce at the bottom of the table, trying to suck them in to a relegation battle. But yeah, Juventus, Inter, and Lazio Roma really highlight the weekend. I think we got Champions League tomorrow or today. If you're listening to this after the fact, you get to watch Liverpool get bounced by Real Madrid. And then
you never know, man. They may come back.
I know that they won't. I'm just hoping that it's it's like 1-0, and we just kind of move on and we don't get embarrassed. So we're
No,
not on like an all-time list here.
They're bringing back that form when they played United.
I don't see it. No part of me.
They're going to put 5 past Real Madrid.
If we put 5 past Real Madrid tomorrow, I may not be alive for the podcast next week. I'm not sure I would make it through that event. I don't see it happening. In fact, I'm probably not even going to be watching all that much because it's my wife's birthday tomorrow. And
happy birthday!
Thank you. Well, I'll say
pass it along.
Thank you. I'll pass it along.
Double it and pass it along to the next person.
Double it and pass it along. But I'm not going to put myself in a bad mood on my wife's birthday by watching this team just disappoint me yet again this season. So, Dom, anything to say before we get out of here? Before we get into the international break, what do you got for us?
Not everybody's team can make the quarterfinal of the Champions League.
Yeah, not every team can win the Champions League either, but
Hey, we both of us don't know what that it's like.
Not us. We know.
Yes, sir.
Banners fly. That is my biggest takeaway over the last few years. Is one, I get much less upset about sports in general than I did when I was a younger man, and 2, they can't take those wins away from you. They can't. You can hang on to that shit for as long as you want. I will talk about the title. I will talk about the Champions League stuff forever. So, amen. That's the whole point of you watch this stuff, is to get those memories. I got the good ones. I got all the good ones. I'm good. If that's it, I'm good. I'm cool. I'd watch Roy Hodgson coach this team. I'm fine.
Being a Cremonese fan.
Hey, man, they got their win. They can't take that away from them until they
do.
find out they were bribing officials. Because Italy is the one place where they will take your wins away, or at least take your points. They will make it so that you really didn't.
Wins are not permanent. Banners don't always fly.
Wins are permanent. The points that you receive for those wins, much less so. Much less so. They're definitely subject to change for sure in Italy. They're very willing to rescind that.
Everybody loves to talk about Juventus dominating Serie B, but they forgot that they won Serie A the season before it got sent down.
It's March Madness weekend as well, so I think it's kind of good that the Premier League is a little lighter this week, and then I can tune in to Roma, Lazio, Juventus, Inter, kind of in between the screens. We have a March Madness bracket challenge, not us, but underground sports in general.
Our conglomerate.
Our network, our group. Dom just is going to have to go to the hospital because so feel free to join that. It's a lot of fun. Everyone loves being in a little bracket challenge. You love the idea of like beating out a bunch of people and doing better than them. So you can put your bracket up against me, Dom, Kyle, Dylan, all the other people that do a lot of good work for our podcast network. So I would encourage you to check that out.
I picked too many high seeds.
Of course you did. Yeah, everyone does every year, and then you look at it at like 3 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. Like, I'm an idiot. Why did I not see that coming? Yeah. I think I'm going to pick like all upsets this year. I think I'm just going to pick every. I think I'm going to pick every 13 seed, just going to the Final Four. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
I got
actually happens.
I got a couple 5 seeds, like 8, 9 seeds going the distance a little bit. I just want to say, this is White Guy Podcast bingo, because we have somehow, this is like, instead of in September talking about your fantasy football team or your fantasy football draft that no one cares about, we're talking about our hypothetical brackets. NCAA basketball.
It's the other bingo spot is, I almost picked them as an upset. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you almost picked them as an upset. In fact, nobody cares that you did pick them as an upset, even if you did. Just keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Is my advice maybe for
hey,
people.
Let's check off another thing of white person podcast bingo. Hey, you know what? Too many people are not being men these days. No, I'm kidding.
No, bro, you got to flip your mindset, bro. Because like all I'm thinking now is like, dude, like there's no excuse for someone my age to not have like $1 million in the bank. Like it's so easy. Like the money's out there. Like if you're not driving a Lamborghini at 28, like I don't know where you went wrong. Like the money is there. Like if you look at the crypto stuff, if you look at like fintech, like if you work in that like sphere, man, like you just got to change your mindset and like build. That's really what it's all about. Like you just got to do that.
Stomp out an old lady for $20 million. Like I would do it, and then I wouldn't take the money because that's the job experience that I'm getting, and that's more valuable than any money.
I would listen if they're offering me $500 million or a dinner with Jay-Z. I'm taking that dinner with Jay-Z. The things I learned in that dinner are so much more important. That is worth more than $500 million. That is way worth it. Worth way more. I'm just going to grind on myself.
Mm-hmm. It's all about
I
the
give
grind.
money away because I just want to grind that much harder. Not to people, though. To my 401k, but.
You don't have a Lamborghini by 22? you may have a house and a car and a happy wife, but when she sees me pull up in that Lambo, skirt, doing donuts in the intersection, she's not your girl anymore. She's mine, homie.
If your dad didn't buy you a nice condo in the city at 23, you messed up, bro. You messed up. If he didn't get you a cushy job at one of the big 4 accounting firms doing nothing, maybe you just be built different. Maybe just change your mindset, bro.
Look, all it takes is a small $1 million loan from your father and the business gets going. We're going off the rails, Matt.
Man, this bit went on far too long, I think. We'll be back next week selling you condos and Bitcoin.